Hello and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk with a clinic that's gone from 6% annual growth to 20% annual growth in just 6 months. And today I'm talking with Zachary Taillie and Brett Barnes. They're both co-owners of Alpine Physical Therapy and Sports Performance in Arvada, Colorado, which is just northwest of Denver. And they started in 2020, right before the world went to pot, and are now grown and have 5 therapists working in their clinic. We talked a little bit before this, and they have both a hybrid model, so cash and also insurance-based. And we'll get into that a little bit later. They're having a great year at Alpine. In October, Alpine hit an all-time high of patient visits, plus in the past 6 months, their annual growth has gone from 6% to 20%. So they're doing fantastic with that, and they are also fantastic to work with as Practice Promotions clients. So today, Zach and Brett will share how they've grown and the wins that they've experienced along the way and tips that they have for you as practice owners out there. So Zach and Brett, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having us on, Neil. We're really excited to be here, and excited to just share what we've learned and what we've gained from working with you guys.
I appreciate that. So let's talk about this year, because obviously a lot happened this year. And you had a 6% annual growth, and now you're at 20% annual growth in those last 6 months. Great job on that. Great job on that hard work getting to that. That's exciting to see that kind of growth and acceleration. Just kind of curious from your side, what did you see as some of the increases, some of the causes of those increases that you had this year?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the biggest thing would be starting with you guys. So we started with Practice Promotions. Basically, the month we started seeing an uptick in growth, and I really think the biggest thing I can attribute it to would probably be the new website. It just, it's streamlined, it's clean, it's modern, it looks nice. It's intuitive. People know how to use it. It highlights, kind of all the right things we feel like, and the call to action, which we had heard about in random YouTube videos we had tried implementing on our own. It's just a lot smoother now, and so getting the ad spend going to the right area was really beneficial. So and then the whole package, right? The finally having a presence on Instagram. We had one, but I think we hadn't posted in probably like over a year, maybe 2 years, and I don't actually know if we even had a Facebook page at that point. So I think just the overall having all the things working, as a PT owner, you try to do everything, but I think we had kind of just said, well, our schedules are kind of busy, so we must be doing okay. And we also were juggling 19 other things. And so we were doing a little bit of marketing, but I think handing it off to the experts and allowing you guys to really dial it in, and then getting that awesome website was really the biggest difference for us.
That's awesome to hear. So you really made that decision kind of end of last year, like, hey, we've got to improve our online presence, right? We've got to be able to get found in our community online. That's where people are at. How can we reach more people? So I think that's when you started talking with our team on that. So was there a time when you saw that, like, hey, we've got to do better online, or maybe you just didn't know at that time, and so you started digging into it? Just curious from that end.
Prior to, I had done the Google ad stuff and not really know much of what I'm doing there. And I know we saw some small upticks, but we both at the end of the day knew we're not experts in this. And kind of like Zach said, we ultimately just wanted to hand it off to some people that we knew that would do a great job. And so we're happy that you found you guys to help us out, because one thing that we've really been able to do is we like to focus on obviously just high quality care, trying to find a clinic model that allows us to see our patients for longer and just do a really good job. With that, we should have people that would be attracted to that kind of model, right? That kind of quality. We just have a tough time casting that net out to find those people. And so I think finding you guys allowed us to kind of cast that net, find the people that we can help a bit better, and not have me spend hours and hours and hours trying to solve them easily pop market ads. So makes my life easier too.
So that's interesting. So did you find that by elevating your website, your brand online, obviously the way that you're portraying yourself in Google Ads, social media, things like that, did you find that you started to get a different type of patient, a different type of clientele come in?
I feel like we didn't see a giant difference in the type of patient that came in. It was more of just the volume.
The volume.
Jim, and what's nice about our area is typically kind of like the way our clinic is set up is that it kind of naturally will attract usually a bit more of the active person. And being in Colorado, most people are very active anyway. And so you'll usually find younger athletes or active adults that are just trying to live and live their best life out here and have fun. And so we kind of found like, the type of patient that came through was very similar, but the volume did definitely increase for us, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so being able to speak to your ideal customer out there, right? And really portray, hey, we really help active adults and athletes and people who really love the outdoors and want to be more active, and maybe they had an injury, we can get you back on your feet. So obviously knowing that with your audience and then being able to portray it online helped you bring in more of those type of people that could connect with you and you could help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. It was a big change, and it was great to just see more of that volume.
Mm-hmm. And so, Zach, it was interesting what you said there about the kind of the update on your website, because that a lot of times what we see as we talk to people out there, different clinic owners, is that they kind of hang on to their website for too long. And it's like going from, you have an iPhone 10 and then over the years, now they were at an iPhone 17 and things just don't work quite as well as they used to, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm curious from your end, did you start your website back in 2020 or had you done any changes to it since that time?
So we started it back in 2020. I played around in Wix before and kind of used one of their templates and sort of, we took some pictures and we tried to change the pictures, and I tried to do as much stuff as I could. And, for a while, especially like when we opened during the pandemic, we didn't have a ton of money. And so, we had talked to people about like, oh, could you build us a website? And sometimes they were $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And then, I was like, well, what if we need an edit? Like, well, it depends on how many hours. It could be $200 or, another $1,000. And it was like, well, we can't really spend $10,000 on a website. Like we recognized that it would help, but we just didn't really have the ability to do that. So I basically made it, and then we sort of kind of like, all right, that's the website, and then Brett did a really good job on the Google. I mean, we were kind of showing up high, but I feel like a lot of times people will click on it and be like, is this a real company or is this a scam? Or because it looks like a 9-year-old made this in their bedroom, So we were really excited when we saw that you guys included that kind of as part of your package, because we knew it was a weak point, but we had just gotten some kind of crazy numbers before from folks who would, I build websites on the side. It'd be, the $10,000. Good luck. If you ever need to edit it, your host. So we were really thankful when we saw you guys did that. Like I said, I knew that I was way out of my league, but we knew we had to have a website, but we didn't know what else to do really.
Yeah, and that's such a it's a regular story. It's a common story. Like we're starting off, we don't have much cash, we're trying to do self solutions, and you got to do it to get your ball rolling, right? But there comes a point where you're evolving in your business, right? So you're reaching a certain threshold, and then in order to go to that next level of business, you have to reinvest in the business. And part of that is obviously in your marketing efforts, your sales efforts to get to that next level of volume. And so we see that all the time, that people do what they need to do to operate, but then they realize, like, I've kind of reached the plateau with what I'm able to do by myself, whether that's with the website, whether that's with Google Ads, and then they need professional help. And I've said this before many times on the podcast, where even with bigger and bigger clinics, where we chatted with some people that had 180 clinic locations. It's like, as you start to get to that level, you actually outsource more and more help. Like you get more consultants in and things like that, because your business becomes more complex and your marketing becomes more complex, right? In order to reach the volumes that you need to support the business at those levels. So it's always this leveling up that happens, and it's great to hear your story because it's such a common one. But what's impressive is that you just made that decision to say, hey, I've got to take this to the next level, and what can we do to make that happen?
Yeah. It was. I think you nailed it on the head. That we wrote it as long as we could until we realized we're just going to stay flat unless we do something else. And then once we hit that plateau, that's when we kind of started to look for those avenues, and hey, it's worked really well for us. So we're really happy we did it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
probably, I was gonna say probably one of the hardest transitions at that point too was just like trusting another company to kind of come in and do well for our business too. That's like I think one of our bigger holdbacks and what stopped us for a long time was like, can we actually trust someone else to handle this? And we've been very happy with what you guys have done. So definitely a positive experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think there too is you're you're looking for help, right? There's so many choices out there, right? Everybody and their mother has a digital marketing agency, and so it's hard sometimes to know like, oh, do I go with somebody local here who knows my local area, or do I get something that's super cost effective, or there's not too many of us in the industry that are very specific to PT and rehabilitation. There's a lot of companies out there that help a lot of different type of businesses, but they don't necessarily have that level of expertise in our nuance of PT, right? And it's a pretty interesting industry. There's some nuances to it that an outsider might have trouble with, and that's kind of where the trust comes in. Like, do they really know our clinic? Are we going to be able to portray what we need, the type of patients that we want to, attract? I think there too, it's a collaboration, getting to know your clinic and what your nuances are, but then also having people that have been there before, so that you can lean on and obviously know what works best, so you don't have to try and figure it all out yourself.
Yeah. And we actually used a local clinic local team that had they really on, right? We had used a local place that wasn't, like you say, specialized in kind of nuances, and I just remember them being like, man, when we turn this stuff on, like, you guys better be ready. It's going to be crazy. And then they were like, called one day, they're like, sir, you guys drowning? And we were like, when are you turning it on? They're like, it's been on like a week. Like, it's not working. So, yeah, we were really excited. I mean, I think the first day we did everything with you guys, we had like a request for a new eval, and we were like, oh, hey, look at that. It's working. So,
There you go.
yeah, it was pretty exciting.
So kind of curious for you in what you've seen over this last year, what would you say has been your number one source of new patients, and has that changed as you've scaled your business?
Probably over this last year, source of new patients. I actually do think it probably comes a lot from online. The website is what I would probably say. I feel like we're just getting a lot more phone calls than we've gotten in the past, which has been great. It actually became such a big issue this year that we've had to delegate phone duties to different people and outsource that a little bit, because I used to be within the clinic, and then it became a big headache in the clinic. So we've had to kind of hand that off. And then, previously from what it used to be, still like a lot of online stuff would probably be where it came from. Now it's just like in the higher volume is probably where I would say, my thought.
Yeah. I don't think
That's
we
great
really
to hear that.
I think it's actually. I think some of the doctors who found us, I think they actually found us through Google, which was, I think they probably like PTs in Arvada, they went to the break room quick and said, where can I send this person? And which has been kind of cool too, because then those are new folks that we can collaborate and work with and hopefully help grow our business with. So
That's a great point to hear. Like, if maybe the patient's not quite near that physician, so they don't know everybody, right? And then they look you up online, you pull up who are they going to recommend. And that's something we hear too, is that like like an ortho's office or some other physician's office, the person who really sends the patient to PT is the patient coordinator, right? It's not the doctor. The doctor may say, hey, I need you to go to PT, but it's usually the patient coordinator says, hey, here's a list of clinics to choose from. And they give it to the patient, and the patient has to go figure out where they're going to go, and then they start Googling and looking online. So that's where, if you can pull up, if your website can really speak to them, you have a much better chance of capturing them as a patient, and that referral, and can start that new relationship with that physician's office. So that's really cool to hear that.
exciting.
And so it's good to hear too that you've seen such an uptick from online discovery of your clinic, right, and patients coming in that way, because that gives you a lot more control as a clinic. In that you can turn on the spigot for your marketing, and you can get the patients in that you want get in to obviously meet your patient visit goals and things like that. Whereas if you're dependent all the time on a lot of physician referrals, then you're kind of at the mercy of what referrals are coming in that week. And it's good to have a balance of both, of course. But I would say, like, if you can be majority of generating your own patients, especially from online, right, then you're much more control in the destiny of your practice than if you're just purely based on referrals from doctors. So it's fantastic to hear that.
Yeah, the level of control it feels like on a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what has the new patient growth per month looked like for you? Obviously, you started, I think, January, right, of this year. So
Yeah.
what does that kind of look like for you?
We were hovering like mid 400s for visits. Yeah, about mid 400s for visits a month, and last month we broke 700. So for the first month ever in the history of the business. So so that was pretty huge growth, and something that we're really excited about. In our initial evals, we were hanging around like low 40s, and now we're pretty consistently around mid 60s. So we're getting more of those evals, more of those follow-ups, and then, it's kind of the snowball effect where now those folks who have had a good experience are telling their brother, their sister, their mom, their dad, their kids to come in. And so it's kind of cool because you get that organic growth as well, outside of just, that's what I try to always remember, is that when we get a lead request or something, like, that person knows other people and those people could use our services, right? So it's really cool too, because that's where we've seen some of that growth as well, where people come in and, oh, you guys do sport performance. My kids love to work out. Can they come in? And, now all of a sudden it's not just one new lead that we got, it's 3 new leads. So,
it's like the ball rolling, right? Word of mouth is still the most powerful form of advertising out there. And so the key is, how can you keep fueling that, right? And if you can get people to find you online, you give them amazing service, great outcomes, they're going to tell their friends and family. You can stimulate that too. But I'm curious, from hearing this, how would you say the way that you're doing patient marketing is right now compared to what you were doing before? So your email marketing, your social media.
The top 10% of PT owners aren't just surviving, they're thriving. But what's their secret? Well, Neil Trickett's new Market to Grow book reveals how the top 10% of PT practices leverage marketing systems to simultaneously grow their new patients, attract top talent, and boost profit in their practice. You can learn from their secrets. Visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free copy of Market to Grow. Yes, you heard that right. We are shipping a free copy of Market to Grow to all podcast listeners who want it. Just visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free book. And now back to the show.
Quick though, compared to what we were doing before, I mean, we would sit down and try to do some ideas and thoughts, and obviously I was working a lot on the Google ads and dedicating time to that. But at this point, we basically handed a lot of that, basically all of it, off to you guys, and you've done a great job. And now what we really focus on as far as that goes is just creating a great experience for people. And then, kind of like Zach said, as they come in and enjoy their time, right, taking the opportunity for, again, new patients to form from those relationships.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Have you seen more past patients coming in also?
Yeah, I think so.
Got the ones that decide to circle back for sure.
Yeah.
For this and that, which is great, right? Because they had a good experience last time.
Awesome. Yeah, and I would say it's your gold mine right there. Your patient list, all those people that you've seen, whether it was 6 months ago, whether it was 3 years ago, they need to come back here for care at some point, right? Or they know somebody who could use your help. And so we've got to keep in communication with them. We've got to keep marketing to them. And that's where consistency comes in. So if you have consistency in the email marketing that's going out, in the social media that's going out to build engagement, build followers there, you're going to get referrals. You're going to get past patients come back in. And then, of course, you layer that in with people coming through your Google ads and your SEO and your website. But, you got to have all these different nets in the water, right, to catch as many fish as possible. So past patient marketing is really huge when it comes to that. And for our audience out there, we were chatting a little bit before, and I was really excited to hear this because I really perceive this as the way of the future for PT and rehab clinics. But tell us the story. You guys started out cash and then you started to do insurance, and now you're something like, I think you said like 70%, 30% insurance and cash services.
So we started during COVID, and all the insurance carriers wouldn't take new providers because the just no one was sure what was going to happen, and so we actually started all cash, and it worked well. And it was just Brett and I. As we started to expand, we found it was a little bit of a challenge because people who were willing to provide a high level of care were also willing to get on Google and see, how do I start my own cash-based PT business, and so we started to blend some insurance in with it. Which actually worked out okay because it kind of gave us some more referral sources because we'd show up on provider portal and stuff. But I think what we did to try to separate ourselves is that a lot of our patients don't really like graduate PT and leave. So our whole staff is a certified strength and conditioning specialist. Almost everyone was a college athlete and has a background in it. And so a lot of people will finish PT and then just show up their next visit for sport performance and injury prevention training or just personal training. And they'll kind of stay on as, hey, I want to come in once a week, get a good workout in, and then just sort of have a touch point with you where if something's kind of giving me an ache, I can just, we can chat about it quick and stay ahead of injuries. And so we've really grown the cash-based side on that, where people maybe don't come in twice a week anymore, but they still come in once a week or maybe once every 10 days. We do a good workout together, just kind of chat, see how they're feeling, and then those visits become cash pay visits. And that's been really exciting. So we offer packages for that as well as single visits. And so that's still something that's been super popular. And, it's those folks, when they go and tell their friends, maybe they'll say, oh, well, they don't take my insurance. They'll say, yeah, but they have cash base, super affordable, and they're awesome, so it'll be worth it. And like you said, it's the most powerful form of marketing. And so I think it's actually helped grow our cash-based PT side as well, because the folks who have come in and paid cash have seen that, whether you're doing it for personal training or PT, it's very worthwhile. And so they're still willing to come and pay for that. So it's worked out really well, and it's something we're excited to continue to keep growing, because it gives us more avenues to pay our PTs more, generate more revenue for the clinic. We don't have to worry about things getting denied or having to do with headaches of chasing things down. You take the payment time of service, and then we're all squared away. So it's been really pretty exciting. Definitely something we want to keep up with.
That's awesome. I'd love to hear that story. And so what would you say to a practice owner out there who's kind of on the fence? They've always taken insurance, and they see other clinics starting to do some cash service, whether it's sports performance or laser or dry needling. Like, what would you say to a practice owner there who's kind of on the fence with doing some cash service lines in their business?
I would say it's best, at least from our experience, like we've had a really good success with taking patients from PT and then just transitioning them into more of this injury prevention, strength training type of work, because they really do, like, the phase, in our opinion, the way we kind of run physical therapy is, as we're getting to kind of the end stages of that physical therapy, it really starts to look a lot like just strength training, right? Because they both kind of go hand in hand with each other. So it should be really kind of a very simple transition at that point to say, hey, you're doing a lot better. It would probably be really helpful for your health in the future to continue along this path and prevent things before they come. Take a proactive approach to your health, which is something that is, I think, an issue in our healthcare in general, is that we're always just way too reactive, right? So one thing we like to do here is try to be a little bit more proactive. And I think that kind of building that transition point has been really helpful, and something that has been really successful for us. And I found people do respond well too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's such a powerful way that you explained it, that it's this natural transition. And I believe that too. Like, we so often let our patients just go and try to figure it out on their own. Like, oh, just go to the gym, or just go to a personal trainer, or go over here, right? And they've trusted us a lot to get them to that point. But if we don't have any programs in place to take them beyond that, then they could get re-injured again, or their problem starts to come back, and that I know from a marketing and PR standpoint that if 3 months down the road the patient starts to have their problem come back, then they doubt if PT really helped them at all. So that doesn't help us in our promotion of our services, our business. But if we can be there, taking them beyond that to and where they want to go, and I'm sure there's so many people that want that service, right? That they they want the trusted advisor to get them or keep them at a certain level, right? Or even progress in a certain level. And I know that even in my own experience with, working with our high school athletes and things like that, the parents, they want the best for their kids, or if the kids have been injured and they've had, even an ACL tear or something like that, they want to make sure that their kid, as they're getting back to sports or even considering college or athletics, that they're taken care of the best that they can. So they're willing to invest in their kids for that growth too.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm curious from your side, as last year when you were looking at, okay, we need to level up our marketing. Did you look at, hey, we're just going to look at different marketing agencies out there, or did you at any time also consider hiring an internal marketer for your clinic?
Internal really crossed our mind because we didn't really know anyone who had that type of expertise. We were pretty turned off to the marketing stuff because we had tried, just a regular like ad agency, or I'm not sure what you would call them. And we had that not so great experience where we spent a couple $1,000s, and I think we saw like pretty much no ROI on that. And so we actually ended up seeing, we have a friend who's a clinic owner, and he scrolled down to the bottom of his website and actually saw the Practice Promotions logo on that. And that's what kind of turned us on to you guys. And when we saw that you only dealt with physical therapy clinics, well, that's kind of what got us interested in it. But we were still a little hesitant, so we reached out, we talked to him, and he kind of was like, gave a really good review. And then that's where we sort of opened up to like, okay, maybe we're okay with this idea. Because like I say, we knew we needed to level up, but we just kind of had a pretty negative experience before. And so we were definitely a little hesitant to move forward with anyone, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's something we hear a lot. People get burned by bad marketing or overpromise and underdeliver. And so, yeah, you're like, okay, everybody's the same, right? Or it's going to be the same outcome with this. So thanks for sharing that. That's definitely a common thing that we hear, that someone got burned in the past, whether it was with a website, whether it was with Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever it may be there. They thought that they were going to have a different outcome, but then they didn't really achieve that outcome. And there's a lot that goes into Google ads. I mean, Brett, you've certainly managed them on your own, so you know how complicated that can be. Google doesn't make it easy, or they try to make it easy, but then they get you to pay a lot more money or spend a lot more money than you should be. One thing I see there all the time is people run their own smart ads on Google, right? And so running smart ads is actually not so smart, because Google likes to put you on all kinds of networks that you wouldn't necessarily want to be in front of. So for example, like you might get put on in-game ads. So a 5-year-old on their iPad playing a game, your ad will pop up, and that's just a waste of money, right? They're not the right target audience for you. So there's a lot that goes into making sure that you've got the right audience, the right targeting for that, so that you can be on the right networks. You don't need to be on all of the networks that Google recommends. And actually Google gives you a lot of recommendations in their ads when you're in there. It says, we recommend this, 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 and this. And again, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I'll do what Google recommends. But again, it's designed to get you to spend more money, not necessarily the best outcome or results that you're going to get from it.
And what's just like people trying to get more money and what's actually going to work. So it's definitely, it's pretty convoluted.
Yeah, and Zach, you brought this up before, but we can spend money on advertising to get people to click through to our website. But if our website doesn't do the job of immediately capturing their interest and then developing that interest to the point where they say, hey, you know what, these guys can really help me with my pain problem, let me give them a call. Like, that's the other component. So your website really needs to be designed in a way that's patient-centric, that's condition-centric, and leads that person through their decision process to use you guys, right? And make that decision to, I'm going to get some help from here, and I can see the successes from others. And they do their due diligence. They're going to look on Google reviews. They're going to look on your pictures online. They're going to look at your social media sometimes. So there's this whole online presence that you need to have for someone to make that decision of finally picking up the phone or clicking the button to leave a contact form through you.
Yeah, it's a long process, and we're very happy that you guys are handling it now, because I think you do a better job of getting folks through that whole journey than we were doing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Awesome. And have you found like the metrics, the analytics from your systems and your team helpful in your decision making?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was helpful when we originally had our set ad spend number, and then we were working with Sean, our pay-per-click specialist, in terms of how much should we bump this up, and it was nice for him to be able to, he really walked us through, here's your cost per click right now, here's what we think it'll go to, but then it'll settle to here, and so it was really nice to be able to kind of see, like, okay, as we ramp this up, are we just spending more money, or are we actually seeing more people coming in? And having him kind of walk us through that was really helpful, because it made us feel better about, like, okay, this is a good decision. It is actually yielding the results we want, and we're not just paying double per click with no real outcome from it. So yeah, it was really helpful. I mean, the whole team's been great, because I don't always have time to sit down and go through all the dashboards, but I can shoot a team member a quick email and just say, hey, like, what was the pay-per-click on this versus the last quarter versus the quarter before that? And, can you give me that plus, how much are we spending overall? And then what were the new leads? And they're great at kind of like, here's this and this. And it just makes you feel really good about the decisions you're making, because you can see the direct, like, value and the ROI as you put money in. And so that's been really just super helpful to be able to have all those tools available, so that you're not guessing. You know exactly, if you want to know the numbers, you can know the numbers, and you can make informed decisions on that.
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent point. Informed decisions, right? So you need to have, just like we do in PT, right? We take objective measurements so that we know the progress that we're making with our patients, just as we would in marketing. So we need to be able to track things properly. And again, that's where I see a lot of practice owners as they get to a certain point, they don't have enough tracking information, from their website, from their Google Ads, from their social media. And call tracking is a huge thing too, making sure that calls are tracked all the way through. Hey, this ad produced a call on this website, and it was an actual new patient that came in, and then they actually booked. And so if we can have all of that data through, then you know what it costs you to actually get that patient in the door. And then, just like you were explaining, now you have the knowledge of, say, okay, well, we want to be able to increase 10 more new patients next month, right? So we need to put just a little bit more. We expect that we'll be able to get those 10 new patients for this much more dollars. It just helps you make smarter and smarter decisions as a business owner. So thanks for sharing that, Zach and Brett there. It's fantastic. So I'm curious for both of you here, obviously big accomplishments this year. What do you foresee for 2026 with Alpine PT and sports performance?
And then the hope is to continue to grow this stuff. Hopefully hire at least one more person, maybe another here. Hopefully, try to find another spot and expand to a second location here soon. It's kind of the big goal, I think, for 2026.
That's
We're
exciting.
excited that we got the ability to do so finally, which is really neat.
That's exciting to hear. All right, so you got a little bit more room in the clinic to bring on another PT or two?
A little bit. It's getting a little tight. That's why we're kind of looking at that second location.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're really excited. We've heard the first 3 are the hardest, and after that, it kind of, I guess you get the systems in place to either sink or swim at that point. We're excited to get the second location, and hopefully 2027, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 10th, and the 19th, and then the 40th.
All right. Building the empire. I love it.
That's the goal. Just taking over Colorado, one neighborhood at a time.
I love it. That's excellent. And you're doing it absolutely right. It's all about building systems in your business, right? So building systems for operations, delivery of care, billing, marketing, right? You've leveled up your marketing systems this year, so now you have confidence to do these other things. You know when, hey, we can grow this amount. This is when we want to bring on that next therapist. All right, we're getting pretty tight. We're pretty full. We're maximizing the efficiency of this clinic. Now we can start to think about other locations. That's the way you do it, right? And so you guys are totally on the right path for that. I'd love to see that. I do see clinics sometimes where the practice owner thinks that just going for that next location equals success, and they don't get their initial clinic to a very profitable level before they take on that next expense, because you got to spin that up. Obviously, it takes some time to get that spun up to a certain level that's profitable, but you guys are doing it right, where you're maximizing your capabilities within this clinic and then starting to think about your expansion from there.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. We're really excited you guys have been pretty integral part of that to get us grown to the point that we can do that, because like you say, we really need to have enough revenue here to be able to support a second clinic, support a third clinic, support us. So, we're really excited to be at the point where we can start doing that. And like I said, that's a big props to the team at Practice Promotions, because we would not. It'd probably take us 10 more years to get to this point before we were able to do it if we didn't have you guys helping us with the marketing stuff. To any of the listeners who are on the edge, we were there, and you should definitely do it, because it's been huge. And just looking to the future, it's exciting now to think about the growth potential of multiple clinics, as opposed to, I don't know, what new mailer can I try to email next week that maybe will get one more person in the door or something like that.
Fantastic. Love to hear that. Yeah, you can make those big strategic decisions, and you're trusting in us to help you obviously implement a lot of the marketing actions that need to occur there. So thanks so much for that, Zach, and thanks so much for that, Brett. Any final words of advice to our audience out there before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, I think if you're thinking about working with the team at Practice Promotions, please do it. They're great, they're kind, they're awesome. They've allowed us to step back and redirect our efforts to other areas that I think really needed it, but we were always trying to do marketing, and we didn't know what we were doing, so we were spending a lot of time not doing a lot, I think, and so now we're actually spending a lot of time doing a lot, which is good. It's been huge for our company. So we just want to say thank you guys, and to anyone who's on the fence, just give them a call, give it a try. You won't regret it, because it's been really huge for our company's growth.
Awesome. That's so great to hear, Zach. Thank you so much for that. And thanks for the opportunity to help you. That's what really fulfills our purpose, seeing practice owners like you succeed, growing, helping more people in your area. That's our total mission here at Practice Promotions. So super excited to see you guys winning, and I'm really excited to see what you guys can accomplish in 2026. So to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us here on the Practice Marketing Podcast. We got some great ideas out of today. Don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast here, as well as we show this on our YouTube channel with tons of other tips and advice. So go ahead and like and subscribe to us on YouTube. And then go to practicepromotions.net. We've got tons of downloads for you, free advice, marketing tips, and strategies. So this is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click write a review. Thanks.